This is our third video in our series about Dutch whaling in the 17th century. In this video we're going to look at Dutch whaling in the 17th century in general. We're going to start with the fact that in 1612 the first whaling expedition was sent out by the Dutch. This expedition was unsuccessful, mostly because of the English guide they had employed was not knowledgeable about the area of Spitsbergen or whaling in general. And this expedition was just a big waste of time. A year later, in 1613, they sent out 3 more ships on a whaling expedition, and on this whaling expedition they had 12 or 13 Basque harpooners. In our last video we talked about the Basque people and how they became renowned for their skill in whaling. And that's why a lot of European countries employed the Basque harpooners to teach them how to whale. But on this whaling expedition in 1613, they captured 1 small whale, 17 large whales, 13 walruses and 2 polar bears. And from this point onward, the Dutch harpooners would wear a particular type of boots, which they had emulated from those Basque harpooners from the first voyage. And the Dutch used these boots as a status symbol to represent their station as a harpooner. On the day of departure from Spitsbergen back to Amsterdam, the Dutch ships were intercepted by 3 English ships, and they had to give up all their cargo. Now, because of this, merchants from Amsterdam, Delft and Medemblik joined forces to start up a new company with the protection and blessing from the Dutch government. So on the 24th of January 1614, the Noordse Compagnie was established, or Northern Company. Whaling will be a seasonal occupation starting in June and ending in late October, early November. And whaling stations were built on the island of Jan Mayen and Amsterdam Island on Spitsbergen. The whaling station on Spitsbergen was also called Smerenburg or Griesberg in English. These whaling stations consisted of warehouses, cookeries, workshops, living quarters and fortifications. Because of the fear of raids from whalers from competing countries, there were multiple attempts at having a group of men stationed at the whaling stations throughout the winter, but this mostly ended badly because of exposure and scurvy. The most well-known of these stations is Spitsbergen because of the archaeological research that has been done at that location at the end of the 20th century. We know a lot about these men and how they lived and how the whaling stations worked. And this is also why the whaling station on Spitsbergen is the most famous of the Dutch whaling stations. The whaling station at Jan Mayen is less famous. It's also a smaller island. But in the 1930s, there has been erected a plaque on the island of Jan Mayen to commemorate the men who died there during the wintering in 1633. Because of internal struggles, the Northern Company collapsed in 1642, and from this point it was legal for anyone to fund a whaling expedition to Spitsbergen. But before this point there were already a lot of independent whalers who hunted at sea and brought the unprocessed whale blubber back to the Netherlands to be processed there. Due to overhunting around Spitsbergen and the changing of the migrational patterns of the whales, the Dutch whalers started to hunt more on the east coast of Greenland. And so by 1660, the hunt for whales around Spitsbergen by the Dutch had already stopped. In our next video we're going to have a look at the whales that the Dutch hunted in the 17th century. It's going to be less about the history of the animal, but more about the animal itself. And as always, now we're going to look at a spinning coin.